Hey everybody, we're just preparing right now to go on with WCPT. If you're watching us on the Life, Love, and the Grind stream. And we'll be picking up soon.
All right, thanks for tuning in. Life, Love, and the Grind. I'm your host, Sean Allen. And with me today, I got my co-host, our producer, Sara Sadat. And of course, as always, happy Mother's Day to everybody and to Sara.
Thank you, Sean. Happy Mother's Day to everybody. I am so excited to be in front of the radio today, kind of bringing to you just a different version of what we have going. Happy Mother's Day, first and foremost, to all the amazing women that put 100% of themselves out there, caring for everyone, nurturing for everyone. And today's show is also super amazing because we have two very, very strong women. We have Laura. Yeah. Why don't you introduce them, Sean?
So we got Laura Namovicz, who's a detective out in the Chicagoland area. And then later on, after the hour, after a commercial break around 3:24, we got Jennifer Wiesner will be joining us, who's a award-winning family law attorney with 20 years experience. So two incredible guests. And thank you, Sara, for joining us as well. Another strong, successful woman and mother of three. So this is going to be an exciting show. Before we get started, special shout out, obviously, to my mom. Happy Mother's Day, Lynn Allen, chilling at home. I know she's tuning in. And all the mothers around the area and all the strong women that do everything that they do and keep men together like you do with myself and Raza on this incredible show, Life, Love, and the Grind.
Well, you know what? On behalf of myself, keeping both of you guys always together, you're welcome, Sean.
Yes, exactly. So why don't we get started? Laura Namovicz, police detective, strong woman in kind of a man-dominated field, I would say.
And a mom. Oh my God, to two little ones.
Mother of two.
Yes. Hi, guys. It's so great to be here. Happy Mother's Day.
Yeah, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
So let's get started. When did you first, so you got into what, 2011, you became the police force?
Yeah, I was hired in 2011. The end of 2011, went to the police academy for 3 months, and then started my career on the street as a patrol police officer. I did that for a few years, and then I think it was right around my 2-year mark, I was selected to be a detective. So I did that for about 2 years. And 2 years into my detective stuff, I was promoted to sergeant. I was a police patrol sergeant for about 2 years. And then about a year ago, I was promoted to detective sergeant. So it's been a quick career, but it's been a lot of changes. And it's just been, it feels like it's been quick but long at the same time.
Well, it's pretty incredible too, because you are a young woman, and young is in general, as a man or woman, it's definitely young to climb the ranks like that. And I know it's a very difficult business.
It is. I usually get looks when I when I say I'm a detective sergeant, and people ask me, how long have you been on? And I say 9 years or 8 or 9 years, however long it's been. And yeah, it's a unique situation. There's a lot of great police officers who are on the street for a very, very long time before, they're able to move up. So my career has definitely been very good to me. And I've loved every single second of it. I'm hoping to stay where I'm at for a little while, just to kind of be able to get in my groove and stay in where, as a detective sergeant, it's just been a lot of fun. And it's definitely was one of my main career goals. So I'm pleased to be here and hoping to stay in this position for a while. So.
Hey, Laura, you were saying that you actually, your family is blue through and through, right? So you have a lot of influence kind of helping you through in making this career choice. Can you speak a little bit to that? I mean, tell us what made you decide to do this other than the overwhelming family, support that you had going. But What made you go into this male-dominated field?
Wait, sorry, one more question. This is Raza Siddiqui, other co-host of Life, Love, and the Grind. And I was wondering, was there any sort of competitiveness? I see that your brother was also in law enforcement. I wanted to see, was there any competitiveness that fostered getting through the ranks quicker?
I think I'm a competitive person by nature. And I think that I definitely have, when I have a goal in mind, it's all I can think about. And I really just work. When I get something in my head, I think a lot of people who know me would say, once I get something in my head, I kind of just don't come off it until I get there. So I'm very determined. Competitiveness in general in this field, there's a lot of, it's a paramilitary career. So it's definitely, there's a hierarchy and there's seniority and there's different things. With my brother, if you're asking specifically kind of about that, really no competitive. I just don't see him that way. My brother's 6 years older than me. He's a very successful police officer in a very busy city department. And he just has a very different, it's a different state, it's a different department, it's a different culture. And he actually was just promoted recently to a desk administrative sergeant. And I, ended up getting promoted before him. And there was I think just with me and my brother, there's just all love and, genuine happiness for each other's, goals and things that we've been able to do. So, as far as, I don't know if your question is directed towards me and my brother, just like a healthy competition between us, or just competitiveness in general. But as far as me and my brother, I look up to my brother, like I said, he is, one of the reasons why I became a police officer. So, I don't know if that answers your question.
That does. And then
tell me about the climb of it as a woman in a male dominated field. How was the climb up? Obviously it was kind of a short, you kind of rose quickly, but tell us a little bit about what that's like.
It was not easy all the time. There's definitely, when I was hired, I was one of 3 females on the force. So
no,
it was
I don't. You can do
me,
it.
and then we had another female who was a detective at the time, and she's actually the deputy chief of our police department right now. And then there was another senior female officer. So being hired in 2011, I was a little bit shocked that, there was only me and two other females. And since then, we've hired a lot more, and it's changed probably quite dramatically. But there's definitely is always a sense of, when that promotion, when that spot opens up, of who's going to get it and who deserves it and who, it's hard. It's really hard. I think my police department specifically, I feel very blessed because the men who work there are, for the most part, very supportive. They have families, they have, children, and just are generally supportive of, of women in the career. There's always people who are not. And that's just something that you just kind of got to overcome. And in my case, just kind of block it out and ignore it. And sometimes it just kind of it drives me a little bit more to work harder and to get the things that I want. But that climb was definitely, there's some people who would say, I made it to the position that I'm at too quickly. And there is some truth to that. On the other hand, I had my goals in mind and I worked very hard for it. I think one of the things that in a police department is people don't think about, but what I realized very quickly, moving up very quickly, was, you think you have friends, colleagues, and you're close with them, you're close with their them and their families outside of work, and you have a friendship, and then you get promoted and you're in a position where you need to hold them accountable. You need to set expectations, and your role just shifts dramatically to, a position of more supervisory, more power, more, it's not a friend anymore. You've got to really look out for the organization. And that can be very difficult for some people. For me, everything kind of happened so quickly, and kind of like I said earlier, every couple of years, my position changed a little bit. So, that was a little bit easier for me than I think maybe someone who was on the street for 20 years and then, was promoted and was able to shift that way. But there's always people who think they deserve things, and don't quite understand why you were given opportunities. And that's just, I think, the way that it is in general, probably across the board anywhere. But it definitely shows you who your true friends are, and those true mentors are that are going to back you no matter, what your role is. And I just feel very blessed to have quickly been exposed to a lot of different things that I think make me a better supervisor, and a good boss. So the competitiveness is just a part of it. But it's just kind of part of the game, I guess.
So how have you evolved as an officer over the years? And you say about being in a leadership role. What characteristics do you to kind of define a leader, and how have you kind of put that to your day to day?
Gosh, I've learned so much, probably more in the last year in my position as a detective sergeant than I have probably everything put together. And I really am trying to focus on what it does mean to be a good leader. I think I mentioned to you guys before, but, coming into a male-dominated police department, being a young female, and kind of in this world of men and the way men talk and the way they act, and then throwing on top of it, being in a power role, for lack of a better word. I kind of came in and thought, man, I gotta be loud. I gotta be boisterous. I gotta keep up with the men here. I've gotta, pull my weight and do my thing just to be equal to them. Right. But I've really learned that leadership really isn't about that. It's really about stepping back, having self-control, thinking things through before reacting, giving people the benefit of the doubt, and kind of just being more of a motherly figure than an equal or I found that people respect me when I'm more calm, more slow to get angry, and have a little bit more self-control. As a leader, I think that that's someone that I'd want to work for. And I think that a true leader kind of steps back and gives their people, my unit, my detectives, the room to kind of shine and kind of develop themselves. And I think that as a leader of a unit like that, it's important to mentor them, give them the tools that they need to succeed, and kind of, step back a little bit. I think I read somewhere that, true leadership's about taking a little bit less of the credit you deserve, and then owning up to a little bit more of like the mistakes that you deserve.
Yeah, I mean,
so I kind of
Laura, you hit it like right on the head. You have a couple different things that you kind of touched base on in the past few minutes. You talked about not being that in your face kind of a leader in a male dominated industry, right? You talked about just being nurturing and caring. How do you, have you ever had any difficulty kind of having people take you seriously as far as strength or training or safety? Any of that has been concerning in the past?
Yeah, I definitely, a few things come to mind with that.
We love stories. Any story you got.
Well, let's see. No, I get that a lot. I mean, I get, you know, a lot of times people aren't expecting to see me. I'm a small 5'3", 100 and, you know, whatever, 10 pounds. I'm, you know, it's not who you think. I think when you call the police and they show up at your door, you might not expect to see me. And what I like to tell people, and a lot of times when I do talks at schools, or a lot of times people will stop me, like when I'm out on the street or grabbing my cup of coffee, and they'll say, you know, oh, my daughter wants to be a police officer, but, you know, she doesn't think she's big enough. She's not, you know, strong enough. She's a little girl. You know, what would you tell her? And really nowadays, police work really isn't about like the big bad, you know, big person who can fight you and, you know, handle a situation with physical abilities. It's really about people who can relate to other humans and be the person that when you call the police, you think you can trust, and just being able to talk to people. You know, I am constantly reading and trying to find ways to talk to people, to connect with them, to convince them that they need help, or, you know, to convince them, you know, for whatever the call may be. It's about being able to talk to people, to look at them, to show them compassion. You know, people call the police because they're having the worst day of their lives, you know?
Yeah.
So it's a lot of showing up to people who are in crisis, people who are hurting, people who want to see another human being there that can relate to them. And I just think that it's so important to be able to talk to people on a human level, be able to say, hey, I'm here to help you. You know, let's figure this out together, as opposed to being a big intimidating figure, you know, who's just who can be intimidating. I think to be a female, a small female, is actually can be, you know, I can have a more success handling some situations than some other people, just because I am relatable and I'm, you know, not intimidating, I guess you could say.
Yeah, you come from the sidelines, right?
Right.
You wouldn't expect something like this.
Right. And you know, my team just did last week, we did a search warrant on a house, and I'm always the one to draft up the operational plan and figure out who's going in the door first, and, you know, weigh the safety risks. And I go right in with my team. You know, I've got my one detective who's ready to knock down the door if we have to, and then I'm right in there after him. So, you know, I realize that I am small, but I also, you know, train and keep myself healthy and keep myself confident in my skills, you know, and know the tools that I have if I need to use them. And so, yeah, you know, I'm right there with them. You know, even though I'm small, it's, you know, my team right there with them. So
one thing I want to touch base. We're going to get up to this a little later. Just kind of how police work is changing during this, you know, COVID-19. We're going to get to a quick commercial break. We are hearing from Laura Namovicz. Stick around, stay tuned. We're going to be right back with Jennifer Wiesner.
This is Louis Geyer from GWC Injury Lawyers. Now that cannabis is legal in Illinois, an understanding of the law and the risks associated with ingesting cannabis is critically important. Under the Cannabis Act, you can legally ingest marijuana only in a very limited number of places. Not in public, not on government or school premises, and not even in your own condo or apartment if your landlord has a no smoking policy. A positive test is potentially lethal to your rights in 3 key areas: employment, work injuries, and driving. So if your employer has a zero tolerance drug and alcohol policy, you can be terminated if you fail a drug test, even though your cannabis consumption was legal. If you're hurt on the job and test positive for cannabis, the legal presumption is that your accident was caused in part because of the cannabis, and your workers' compensation rights can be totally denied. DUI laws have not changed. Impaired means impaired. And a DUI due to cannabis or alcohol can ruin your career. If you want to indulge in legal THC before you ingest, read up on your rights at gwclaw.com.
Life, Love, and the Grind is proudly sponsored by Rich Lewandowski and our friends at Breaker Press, Chicagoland's top choice for union printing. We're a third-generation family-owned business that has been helping unions and political campaigns win since 1976. We've been involved in hundreds of winning elections, and we get our printed materials to you on time and on budget every time. Whether you're running for the courthouse or the White House, we will take you from concept to design and from print to mail or your supporters' front yards. Breaker Press can help you reach the voters you need. Call Rich at 773-852-5733 or email rich@breakerpress.com. For all of your political printing needs, visit us at breakerpress.com.
All right, if you're just tuning in, you got Sean, Life, Love, and the Grind with Sara and Raza. We just heard from Laura Namovicz, and now we're here to turn the tables from, police force to law. And now we got joining us Jennifer Wiesner, an award-winning family law attorney with 20 years experience.
And,
Hi, guys.
and a really good friend.
And a good friend and a good woman. 20 years experience, Jennifer. I didn't know you started law when you were 5 years old. That's really exciting for you. It's incredible.
Flattery will get you everywhere.
So thanks for joining us, and stay tuned. We will be bringing Laura back after our next commercial break around 3:45, and then we'll have everyone kind of interact and kind of on this Happy Mother's Day focus on strong, powerful women and mothers.
Happy Mother's Day, you guys.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you. So what do you want to start with?
So the mother of four,
Mother of four. I have 3
award
boys
winning.
and 1 girl.
Yeah.
It's been interesting balancing all of that. I went to college and law school when I had 1 at home, and I was waitressing. So I waitressed all through college and law school, had my 1 child, got married. Together we had 3 more kids. My husband adopted my oldest and became a lawyer. And the beauty of the education system was that it allowed for me to have a career where I could support myself, contribute to the family, and give me the flexibility to still, balance being a mom. So it was a beautiful thing, and that's kind of how I've always lived my life. When I'm engaged at work, I'm 100% engaged at work, 100% engaged with my clients, very passionate about representing them. It's not lost on me how they come to me, needing me to take care of them, knowing everything that is important to them, prioritizing what their goals are, and trying to accomplish as many of those as possible while I'm at work. It's just as important when I am at home to be that engaged with, my family and the kids. So it's been an interesting balancing act all these years, but so far so good. The oldest is a employed mechanical engineer who just got married. So 1 down, 3 to go.
Yeah, it's exciting, right? I mean, it's a different world, kind of a single mom raising kids, but also have enough time to be, a very successful lawyer. I mean, it's a definitely changing time, and your rise is kind of another male dominated field. I mean, the police force is male dominated. I would say law was especially 20 years ago was definitely male dominated.
Yes. When I was in law school, I think statistically we were in the high 30% range, approaching 40%. Female enrollment in law school. Now, the last time I looked, I think female enrollment is between 48 and 51%. The problem is the cost of law school. And I would encourage anyone that's interested in law school to look at state law schools. Northern Illinois University Law School is excellent. I had a paralegal of over 7 years who, when she realized she was as smart as me and could do everything I did, left me to go back to law school. And she actually was supposed to graduate this next week or so, but given, the quarantine and what we're under, she won't be walking, but she will be taking the bar exam when it's available, and she'll become a lawyer now too. So she went to Northern. Also, UIC John Marshall has another state-sponsored school. I went to DePaul, but some of these state schools, it's an affordable way, they teach you how to pass the bar exam. That bar exam is what's most important because that's what gives you that ticket to practice law and run your practice and make some money and, get in the courtroom and get scrapping, which is what it's all about.
Well, it's definitely a tough business. You definitely have to.
Resilience is an absolute trait that you have to have if you're going to survive.
Gosh, I wouldn't even say
a male-dominated profession, but because I fight for a living, and I fight for people that I raise my children with like a family motto.
Yeah.
And from the time they were little, I told them we stand up for the very young, the very old, and those who cannot stand up for themselves.
And that's kind of the same motto I take into the courtroom with me. And I try to live by that and work by that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was just
Well, that's a
gonna
good motto.
say that's a great motto, and you know what, Sean? The other thing is for the people that don't know Jennifer, she comes every single day with every single emotion kind of on her sleeves. She's like the most real person that I know, whether it's with her kids or in front of the courtroom. As you see her kind of walking up and down the empty corridors of DuPage County courtrooms, which I've seen her do as I was kind of struggling through some of my issues. She always has that brave smile on her face, and she's always so passionate, right? I think it's that passion that has led her into where she is now and what she's going to continue to bring to the table. Jennifer, like, how
Thank
do
you
you,
for that, Sarah? That was very nice. Thank you.
you know what, I really appreciate anybody that kind of goes out there day in and day out, and especially in a field such as family law with so many broken homes and broken dreams and broken lives. You guys are the ones that are kind of navigating it and, you know, putting it in a business perspective, to kind of take out the emotions out of it and make sure that both parties are happy at the end of the day. So I really appreciate the work that you do, but taking that home every single day, that must be tolling on your life. Or, you know, or does that not phase you? Do you compartmentalize? How do you deal with this?
Great question. And I do compartmentalize, and I make it a huge goal of mine to be able to. I fight at work. I don't like to come home and fight. I love to engage my children in passionate discussions and debates on hot topics and issues, and we talk about everything. That's another rule we have. We talk about everything, and we talk about it at the dinner table: religion, sex, politics. Let's go, because I want to teach my children to be able to have engaging conversations relative to issues that other people sometimes find offensive, so that my children can go out and speak on those issues and not be offended by it easily, and also know how to speak so they don't offend others. I'm raising kids to become adults who are self-sufficient and go out in the world and live those type of lives. And so, you know, I come home and I have those type of discussions, of course, but I try not to take home the weight of the work with me. It's hard sometimes. You know, when it's showtime in the courtroom, it's showtime in the courtroom. And in the heart of the storm, it's when I'm the calmest. You know, if I'm going to fall apart, it's before or after. It's never during the fight. But I really try to check it at the door when I walk in. And I'm mom, and I really try to balance my life. I really try to live a beautifully balanced life.
So
Well, that's well said too, because it is hard to be able to turn on and off like that. I mean, I think that really is kind of a skill to be able to take your full-time career and then kind of be able to raise kids and really understand how to balance that. And I like that word balance, because that is something that everybody needs more of, especially in these kind of crazier times where we're all locked down.
Scales of justice. I mean, that's all about balance. I mean, that's what I do. Really, I mean, that's the heart of the legal system when it works properly, is that you're balancing. You're balancing two sides to a story, usually, especially in family law. And so balancing work and personal life and my kids is all something that I strive to do. And I enjoy it because I love it. It doesn't feel that heavy to me sometimes, but not often, because I really enjoy it. And I really enjoy being a mother, and I really enjoy being a woman, and I really enjoy being a friend. And so whatever I'm in at that moment, I try to be totally engaged in.
Yeah. Well, giving 100% in anything you do is always a good way of success. And I've personally seen you always give 100% in everything, and Sara, you as well, within everything you do, within the show, within being a mom and working full time.
Raza, on the other hand, Raza, on the other hand, is always giving like 210%. Half the time I'm like, dude, calm down. No, but you're absolutely right. It's, you know, Jennifer, I've been trying to like find a way to ask you this. How is, you know, how are quarantines kind of impacting some of the emergency orders that are kind of going in? I know the courtroom has been closed for a little bit, and you guys are only brought in for some of the emergency orders that are coming through, or things that, you know, just cannot wait until the courts reopen again. How is that going on right now?
Correct. So since March 15th, I've been in the courtroom. Since March 16th, I've been in the courtroom twice. Both were emergencies. Once was in DuPage and once was Kane. And when you go in, they like took my temperature, made sure I didn't have symptoms, and then you go in to argue something, and it's emergency basis, meaning someone's going to be severely harmed if you don't get in there right now and argue the case in front of a judge. And we practice social distancing, we wear our masks, and we take them off when it's time for us to talk, and that's what's going on. Beginning March 18th, the week of March 18th, we're going to start having Zoom conferences for pretrials and hearings, but nothing will be live until June or July, potentially.
And that could even get pushed back
Correct.
potentially as well.
Correct. At this point, that's what they're looking at. That's right.
So how are you handling some of these cases that are ongoing? Like, how does it feel to have someone be going right through a divorce and now being stuck?
Well, we're
with
still
that
doing a lot
spouse?
of divorces negotiation. So nothing is stalled, and if people need help, I'm still here to help them. And a lot of work is actually getting done. We're constantly on the phone with opposing counsel. We're constantly drafting proposed settlements. We're constantly running the numbers. I mean, that's something I've been able to keep, all my employees that work for me employed, luckily, because the work is there. So things are continuing to move forward. It's just we're not moving forward with the assistance of the contested hearings in front of the judges. Those have had to wait. But as much negotiation and settlement conferences, which I got to tell you, that's probably over 75% of the family law industry ends up being settlement and negotiation anyway. So we're just working heavily on that type of stuff. It's very paperwork intensive. I'm a litigator, and family law is also, unfortunately, sometimes very litigious, meaning we have a lot of contested hearings and things of that nature that go in front of the judge. But, we try to negotiate. It's like be nice, be nice, be nice until it's time to not be nice anymore. And then you go in and attempt to destroy the other side, so to speak. But we're always in that be nice, negotiate, settlement, aspect first. And that's what we're just doing a lot of that right now. We're hitting that hard.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of enjoying, I'm going to be honest. My daughter, who's 19, made the comment the other day, because I am working from home a lot, going into the office, kind of alternating with the girls so that we socially distance appropriately there. And doing a lot of FaceTime calls with my clients and things of that nature. But, my daughter made the comment, I love to cook, I love to do a lot of domestic things around the house. I like to garden, cook, and do things like that. So I've been doing, more of that. I do that anyway, but, probably twice as much since that happened. Since we've been on quarantine, and my daughter made the comment, "Wow, Mom, you would have been a great housewife." That's a lot of work too. Let me tell you.
You would make an incredible housewife, 100%. I know that for a fact because I see your cooking, and it's incredible and amazing. So you mentioned your daughter. So
Yeah.
tell me, do you think you teach your daughter different things than you would teach your sons? Where does that land on raising a
She's
young woman
probably
as
tougher
men?
than the boys. I'm sure if they're listening to this right now, they're upstairs. Like,
Well, most women
I'm
usually
here.
are. Let's be honest. Most women usually are.
Yeah, she's probably tougher than the boys. You've seen my kids are all pretty tall. So I live in the land of giants, I always say. But they, my daughter's tough. She's tough. She is not scared. She has self-esteem. And I look at that and I'm like, sometimes I think she has more confidence and self-esteem than I do. And that makes me very proud because I raised her. You know what I mean? So that's a very proud moment. My boys are wonderful too. But I look at my daughter and I've raised a strong, strong girl.
Well, she has a great role model to look up to, which is good.
Yep.
You're successful. You're raising good kids. And Sara, you as well. You have 2 daughters. It's got to be tough being full-time working and raising kids. And in today's crazy world, everything's changing so quickly as well.
And it's not just that. If you add like all the time that you spend away from them and putting them into the right schools and the right daycare and the right facilities and the right after school programs, there's a lot that goes into parenting, not just with women, but it takes a partner, it takes a community to kind of raise strong individuals. And at the end of the day, you do speak to your daughters differently than you speak to your son. And there are things that you teach your daughters that you wouldn't teach your sons, and vice versa, right? There's an art to not going out there and being loud and bold and in your face over and over again. There's a knack to the nurturing quality that women have, the leadership quality that they kind of bring through. And you want to bring that out in the girls, right? You don't let them take a back seat to their emotions while going out there and like fighting and making sure that they're making a difference. So there are differences. No matter how many different times that we say, hey, all boys and girls are treated equally, They're not. You have to make sure that,
And
yeah,
yes, and to that point, equality is reached by respecting our differences, not trying to neutralize them. Sean, you and I have had many discussions about that.
Absolutely,
That's
we
a whole other show.
Yeah, we'll save that for another one, but we will get back to that.
Between my boys and my girls, I make them respect the differences, and I'm a firm believer in that in my own personal life as well. You know what I mean? I am a woman, and I bring strengths to the table, being a woman, and I'm not going to downgrade that ever.
Well, and I think just speaking on that briefly, any strong, powerful, masculine man knows that to respect and even give more respect to women. And, femininity is the empowerment of what all men are anyways. Most strong men came from even stronger women. Let's be real. So, and this is kind of a question for both of you. Do either one of you have people you kind of look up to, any like female mentors or anyone that you do look up to and try to emulate in certain ways or have helped kind of shape you guys?
All of my grammar school teachers. Shout out to the girls from Holy Ghost. And Sherry D'Ambrose, she was my first boss. And she's an athletic director at Addison Trail High School. She was my swim coach. So all my grammar school teachers from Holy Ghost and Sherry D'Ambrose, 100%.
Yeah, and then on my side, it's my late aunt that just recently passed away at the beginning of this year. She was an engineer. She was a pioneer in computer science, and she was able to handle both sides. And when the time came for her to take care of her child, she kind of put her career on hold and went that route. You know what? I would never be able to do that, but just watching this amazing dynamic woman who kind of put her career on hold, but then kind of took over this social networking aspect and started providing domestic abuse victims in my culture, like the same kind of shelter, the same kind of service that, Family Shelter Services and all these other organizations were providing without even putting herself out there, right? She had a very humbling quality. So I do look up to her. She's just an example. My mom, there's so many men and women that have made me who I am. I can't really say that there's one particular person other than my aunt that comes to mind right now, but everybody has that shaping aspect. And like I was saying earlier with my two daughters, it's even my son is a shaping quality in their life, right?
Well, and I got to shout out
Absolutely.
to teachers right now too, because everything that I'm learning, doing and my kids are older, obviously, so they do a lot of their independent learning. But those teachers, wow, let's give a shout out. There's a great quote that says something
Absolutely.
along the lines of, "My teacher thought I was smarter than I was, so I was."
Mhm.
And I truly
Aw.
think that is what has made me a lot of who I am. I look back at those teachers. My teachers thought I was smarter than I was, so I was. I rose up to their expectations of me. So shout out to those teachers today. for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely. Especially during these times, it's so taxing. And I think everyone sees firsthand how hard teaching is by now having everyone's own kids at home and you have to help them with all these day-to-day things. It's not as easy as you think, it's a lot of work.
It's not.
So, and we've all been blessed by surrounding ourselves with incredible women. And we've also had a lot of incredible women on this show that are strong, successful, working, elected, and in high, powerful positions, as well as moms and married and single. It's been a pretty good journey. So, well, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We're hearing from Jennifer Wiesner. We're going to come back. We're going to hear from Jennifer and Laura, and then we're going to give a little tribute to the Mother's Day and all the mothers out there. So stay tuned.
Megan Financial is an independent retirement and financial services firm dedicated to the working men and women of organized labor. Megan provides straightforward, custom-fit financial advice and specializes in defined benefit and defined contribution pension plans, as well as participant and retiree health and welfare benefits. Megan Financial has the knowledge and experience to navigate the union member through all phases of life. Call 708-444-1090.
Securities and advisory services offered through Cetera Advisors LLC, member FINRA, SIPC, a broker-dealer and registered investment advisor. Cetera is under separate ownership from any other named entity. Office location at 5321 South 94th Avenue, Orland Park, Illinois, 60462.
All right, if you're just tuning in, Life, Love, and the Grind with Sean Allen, Sara Sadat. We just heard from Jennifer Wiesner, award-winning family law attorney, and Laura Namovicz. And now we got everybody. We got me, the lone man with three very successful, very powerful women. So on
Lucky
this great
fella.
on this great Mother's Day. So I'm going to throw this question over to Laura now. Laura, how is life with the police during this COVID? We talked with Jennifer a little bit about it. How is the police force handling this?
It's, you know what, every day we learn something new and we change our routines and our expectations. But it's been crazy. I never thought in my career that I'd be, responding to calls in a mask and goggles and gloves. It's a different environment. And some days are really, really good and some days are really hard. And it's just about, going with the flow and adapting to what the day holds, I guess. But it's definitely been a shift. And it's definitely in the proactive side. It's been a shift of, just weighing the risks of, that your actions, is this action, whatever it is, worth, a possible exposure, a million other, questions that run through your head. So it's definitely been a change for everybody, for sure.
Absolutely. And then with and Jennifer, obviously we talked a little bit about, this kind of shutting down courtrooms. You guys are doing the best you can to keep it going, but this could last another month. It could last another 6 months. I mean, that's just the scary part, is this unknown world that we're all living in.
Flexibility is important. A flexibility and a sense of humor, right? I mean,
Yeah.
what gets you through a day?
Absolutely.
Yep.
So, and Sara, I know you're staying home. You're still working. You still have the 3 kids and Raza, which is a triple full-time job. How have you been dealing with everything?
Oh my God, a breath at a time. I think that's possibly the best way that I can say it. Honestly, it's been super trying and super challenging. But you know what? At the end of the day, I'm figuring out that I'm so much more capable of than what I had actually thought. I put together a patio chair yesterday from like scrap lumber that I didn't think I was possibly able to do. So I am going out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
You go, girl.
You can just tell everyone's bored when we're doing these crazy projects. That's kind of what it tells
Speak for
me.
yourself. Hey,
I'm not bored either. I mean, I'm trying to enjoy life for the most part.
absolutely.
So Laura, you have 2 small kids.
Yes. Yes.
So where do you see that, like, in this changing time? I mean, where, you're in this police force, you see having a, child going into the police force, or would you like them to go into something else, maybe go into law, or?
It's funny because when I was considering going into law enforcement, I had kind of made up my mind, but I had to ask my mom. I had to get my mom's approval, and I was really worried about it. I thought she was going to say something like, oh, it's going to be dangerous. It's going to be hard. I don't know. And when I asked her one day, I finally got up the courage. I'm like, Mom, I really think I'm going to be a police officer. What do you think? And she just looked at me without taking a breath. She said, I think you would be an amazing police officer. Go for it. And that was just what I needed. And I was not expecting it. And that was the day I was like, all right, I'm all in. Let's go. Let's do this. I'll never forget that day. And, if any of my children or anyone ever want that or have a passion for that, I won't blink an eye. I just will, let them make those decisions. And there's definitely reservations in my heart and in my own personal experiences that, would make me worry for them or concern for them. But that would also make me so proud because, it's an amazing career. It's a good way to live your life. And if you're built for it, who am I to say, don't do it? So if either my daughter or my son, they're little right now, my son just turned 2 and my daughter just turned 3. But I could definitely see my daughter is just like me. She's a handful. And if either of my kids came to me and said that, I'd never forget what my mom told me. So.
Well, we talked about the importance of what teachers bring and the empowerment they give to young men and women, and especially a mother and father is just as important to give that boost of, sense of you can achieve anything. And I think mothers do that better than anybody, just getting that in your head and driving, people forward. So it's really good to see. And then same thing with you, Jen. What do you see Where do you see your daughter going? I know you say she's a fighter. She's tough. She's just like her mother.
And what I tell all my kids, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, I don't care what they do, as long as they do something and do it well and show up. Show up. Live a life, leave a mark, do something that people remember. It's a better place because you were there. Even if it's one person, just show up, do something and do it well. That's truly how I feel about all of them. My son Luke, who's 17, he's finishing junior year. He has some interest in law. But I don't care. I mean, if they want to go for it, go for it. I don't push them in any specific direction. Let them follow what they are strong at, whatever they do, as long as they do it well. That's all I wish for them. To be happy, truly.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. It's definitely good advice. And with a strong work ethic and a strong belief in yourself behind that, you're going to achieve a lot. You really can. As long as you have a good support system. And I think that's where good, strong mothers come in to just give that strong support system from the start. What do you think, Raza or Sara?
Yeah, Raza's a producer for today. Yeah. It's ultimately explore, right? So just do not settle and continue to explore. That's what I keep telling my kids. Don't settle for the first thing that jumps out at you. Continue to be inquisitive, find out what works for you. Try it out a little bit. There are all these programs in schools right now where you can actually take these classes that allow you to allow you to be an apprentice, allow you to do things that are like not the norm. If that fits for you, you don't necessarily need to go the traditional college route. You can do a lot of different trades. You can do a lot of different things that you can find happy and fulfillment through, right? That's all I'm trying to tell them. If you're happy at the end of the day with what you do, it doesn't matter. Money will come, money will go, but happiness is that one thing that we'll continue to strive for. So that's what I tell them. I don't know if they'll listen to me. My 13-year-old is now telling me that everyone's getting a car, so now she needs a car. So I said, all right, that's fine. As long as you can work for it, you can get a car, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So Jennifer,
yes.
Where can someone find your expertise and your legal services if they needed to choose so?
Thank you for asking. If they go to my website at divorcelawdiva.com, www.divorcelawdiva.com. All of my information is on there. They'll find my phone number. I'm also Jennifer at divorcelawdiva.com is my email. And, I'll take excellent care of anybody that might need some help. Reach out.
Absolutely. And any advice you give to let's say a young woman that's getting into the law field?
Study hard. Here. Oh.
You Googling
Work.
Quotes?
Well, I'm thinking exactly how I want to say this.
And there was a super long breath
Work
too.
to live, don't live to work. So put your work in, on the forefront when you're young. Pay attention in school. Work hard. Get good grades. Pass that bar exam. The sky's the limit.
Yeah, I like it. And Laura, what about you? Any young advice to a young woman getting into the police field?
Oh gosh, I kind of just the same thing that Jennifer said. The sky's the limit. Go for it, and you gotta work hard. But you have it within yourself. You just gotta unleash it and have faith in yourself and confidence in yourself, and you can do it.
And last but not least, Sara, any of those words of wisdom to these young women on the rise? You're a woman of many talents. The show, you're a full-time worker, and you're an elected official.
Know your limits and know your boundaries, and then keep breaking them, keep surpassing them. That's all we can do as women. And don't make apologies for things that you're not able to deliver on. This is who we are. We're gonna live our best life.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank all three of you for coming on the show. Three incredible women: Laura Namovicz, Jennifer Wiesner, Sara Sadat, always as our co-host and producer. You guys are all incredible women. I appreciate you taking this time out on Mother's Day. I hope you guys are all getting spoiled, and thanks for joining Life, Love, and the Grind. We do have a little Mother's Day tribute today. We're going to close out the show from a song tribute to all the mothers and stepmothers and grandmothers and all strong, powerful women. It was actually written and performed by my father, Jim Allen. And I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope everyone has a very happy and a very safe Mother's Day. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.
How you smiled that day when you first laid your eyes on me. The tears of pain now all released, no longer mine to be. And as you held me close to you, you touched my hand and stroked my face. The tears welled from inside your eyes as you whispered in my ear. I will always love you as long as there are stars above you. You need not doubt my love for you. And even when I've lost,
Great show, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Is that okay?
I will be
That was great.
in your heart.
This song is so pretty.
Days gone by, the years that pass. This child of yours has changed so fast. Before your eyes, this boy becomes a man. And looking back on my growing years, many times I caused your tears. You would simply turn to me and say, I will always love you as long as there are stars above you. You need not doubt my love for you. And even when I've long been gone, you'll have with you this love I've shown. Forever I will be in your heart. How do we put in words a mother's love received? Surely it's heaven sent, this gift of love to you and me. Within your heart you've never changed, but somehow, Mom, you don't look the same. Time has worn your soft and fragile heart. And as you lie in bed, I see, for once a scared uncertainty. I take your hand and I whisper in your ear. I will always love you as long as there are stars above you. You need not doubt my love for you. And even when you've long been gone, I'll have with me this love you've shown. Forever you will be in my heart. Forever you will be in my heart.
Thanks, everyone.